Hey everybody. So Merry Christmas. This is the week before Christmas. So we don't know exactly when this episode's going to come out. But we are having Philip McIntyre, our lifelong friend, on today. And honestly, Matt, I'm a little nervous.
Why? Well, I mean, we've known Phil forever. Why is he making you nervous
Well,
finally?
it's funny because so many guests we've had who are
Yep.
some of them are very successful, and some of them even do a lot of public speaking, have
Yep.
admitted that not having done a podcast for them, they get a little nervous. And I'm like,
Sure.
okay, why am I a little nervous? And I'm like, because Phil's a very creative guy.
Yep.
He's an entrepreneur. And
Yep.
I realize I'm nervous about, can I pronounce the word entrepreneur? That is a tough one.
For you, it is. Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot of things to be nervous about, but that is definitely one of them.
Yeah. So I think you and I love this time of year. It's an
Yeah.
exciting time of year. But today, my intro, I'm going into my Sunday sermon is a little bit about, I think a lot of people need to start thinking like a surgeon.
Thinking like a surgeon. Oh boy.
So in surgery, you are constantly thinking about risks and benefits.
Yep.
Okay. And when you go over the risk, you have to be reasonable. Like, you're not going to scare somebody about a risk where they are more likely to be in a car accident on the way to the surgery than they are for that thing to happen. Like, so you generally have to use statistics to do that.
Okay.
And the reason I'm thinking about this is there was a plane crash where a NASCAR person died in the plane crash,
Yep.
and there was a shooting at a college all this week. And I do think that in a lot of cases, people can take comfort in statistics. So, like, if you're super nervous about those two things, you need to realistically look at the statistics and realize that that is not a likely event. That is not something where your surgeon would have to sit you down and be like, "Hey, what are your risks of going to college?" Now, it can happen. You're empathetic when it happens, but it's such a rare event that it's not something where you'd be like, not let your kid to go to college, or also use the statistics so you're not nervous about that happening when your kid goes to college. Because if we were nervous about all those incredibly rare events, we would not be able to function, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Well, our job is to basically focus on the real risk, the risk that really can take, and train yourself to avoid those. That's what you practice at. We can't worry about what happens on your way to the operating room, or what happens if there's an earthquake in the middle of your surgery. Like, if we did that, we would never be able to function.
So are you saying that surgeons are superheroes and that they are smarter and tougher than the rest of us, and we should all be trying to be like surgeons? Is that
No,
I'm asking for a friend.
I'm saying that we all take risk in life, and you need to, before you worry about a risk, you need to kind of ask yourself, is it reasonable is this risk a reasonable thing to worry about?
Okay.
Um, and honestly, I will admit that statistics can be kind of unusual. So, like Mark Twain said, there's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics. Is in medicine, we study things, we look at the
Sure.
statistic, and we quote the statistics, and we fall back to the statistics. But we are also very well aware that those statistics can be manipulated. So, like,
Got it.
we spend a lot of our training learning how to read studies and those kind of things. And there might be a study in a major journal, and you'll be in an orthopedic conference, and your program will come up and be like, this is junk science. Like, this is horrible. Look at all these cofactors they didn't align with. So it gets into the experts don't always agree, but it does take years to understand the statistics. And I'm not encouraging people I'm not dissuading people from studying the studies, but you got to be careful about being Dr. Google. Do you have the background to understand the statistics? But what I'm talking about are the statistics that are obvious. Like, it is safer to fly than it is to drive, that kind of thing.
Okay. Do you get paid by the times you say the word statistic? I'm just
I do.
curious.
I do.
Okay. Because I
Actually,
didn't know if you had some deal.
the hidden word that I'm working to patent is so.
So
That is
that's
my
mine is,
that is my change
so
of pace. Yes.
yes,
So,
yes. Phil,
is Phil McIntyre in the waiting room? Did I further confuse you about statistics? Which,
No.
just so you know, statistics are numbers, so it means, like, percentages. Like, what's
Oh,
the percentage of you having a bad outcome? So if your outcome is 99.99% gonna be successful, I don't really wanna stress you out about that 0.001.
roger that. I live with 4 women, and they all, to me, they all worry about the point 1,
Uh-huh.
and that is my New Year's resolution, is to be more empathetic to them and their point 1, worries about stuff that's just
I
not even worryable.
I think that's kind of for our whole podcast because there is a little bit like we definitely have a little bit of a the world's great. Nobody cares if you're having a problem, work harder, hop in a
Yeah,
nice plunge if you're having a bad day.
right.
And we do want to be empathetic, but I read an article today, like basically childhood, like how much safer childhood is now than it was 100 years ago when you talk about poverty, child hunger, all this kind of stuff. So when people start being like, oh my gosh, it's such a hard time for kids growing up these days, you're like, "Really? Have you
It's
read a history book? Have you read a history book? I mean, come on."
have you seen the cavemen, the kids from the cavemen? I mean,
Yes.
you
Yeah,
think Bam Bam and Pebbles had it
yeah.
easy? I don't.
And
I
most
don't.
of our things that we are challenged with are things that you can maneuver the landmines and do great things with. Like, for instance, we talk social media. Social media has so many positives to it. You just have to know to avoid the landmines, and if you can't avoid them, then you shut off your social media.
And that's one to grow on.
Yep.
Alright. Well, good.
So it's
Let's
pretty
talk to Phil.
simple. Wear your seatbelt, get good sleep, eat a
Yeah, drink
vegetable,
water.
eat a vegetable every
Eh,
Tuesday. Yep. And
alright.
now, here is Phil McIntyre. Everybody, this is House Calls the podcast, and today we have a very special guest, the man of many names. We have the cheetah, Red Cohen, Phillip's, Phil McIntyre, and we're excited to have him, but I need to come at you with a little honesty. Uh,
Oh.
I am playing tired today. I Thursday night we were out with some friends. Nothing crazy, but just a little bit past my bedtime of 9 o'clock, and still up at 5. And then yesterday I went hunting, so up at 5 again. And then last night I was out with number 4 till 1 in the morning. And this is a guy who literally is in bed at 8:45
Yeah.
every night. But this is the lesson I want to give the younger people. I'm tired, but I'm gonna be focused, and I'm giving Phil McIntyre everything I got.
I
I
mean,
appreciate that.
what more do you want? I mean, you're the true hero.
Yes.
You really are the true heroes.
Am I the hero of House Calls?
Yeah.
Matt, on the other end, you were in bed at
No. I too am tired. I didn't get to bed till after 11 last night. I was out Friday night. Yeah, I'm tuckered. I mean, you can hear my voice. It's all scratchy.
I
You know,
love it.
it's
I love
yeah.
it. You guys are vulnerable.
Yeah, we're not afraid. We're
The
not
Well,
afraid.
we
cheetah,
will,
the cheetah will recognize that on the Serengeti.
yes, but we will both be taking a nap this afternoon.
Oh yeah.
separately,
Oh, yeah.
separately. But
It doesn't have to be like that.
you know,
Oh
I
my
love
God!
it.
Maybe we can start that. Maybe we can start house call box, and you and I can in there together.
so Phil,
Wait. I'm sorry, Ty.
we
Excuse
want to
me.
introduce Phil.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And
Can we admit that we have a problem with the introduction, though? At least, like, aren't we all about honesty?
we are. We are. So let's talk. All right. So his name is Phil.
Okay.
Why do they call you Red?
Because of the Buffon.
Oh, did not know.
So Phil has had a really interesting career.
Yep.
I think combining his creative side with his business side, you would call him somewhat of the E word entrepreneur.
That's right. Why don't you say statistically what kind of entrepreneur he is?
But my problem is that Phil doesn't quite understand that we are not up to his level of tech savvy. So
No.
when he sent his bio by LinkedIn, neither of us could open it because I don't even know what LinkedIn is.
Matt, help him.
So, but our intro was all about being careful not to be Dr. Google because you might misinterpret these statistics.
Oh, all right.
Red, tell us
Red,
about.
tell us, Phil. Tell us about you. That's what I really want. That's what the people want to know.
No background intro from you guys. This is over to me.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because you know what, Red, we just set it up.
You truly
Okay.
didn't do your homework last night. You guys were out and you're just rolling right into this.
Yeah,
Just
but that's what the people like. No,
okay.
no, we did. We gave you a very nice intro. It was like 23 minutes, 24 minutes. We started at Roland Park Little League Baseball and how you ended up at Denison and three on
We'll go
three.
back to that.
Okay, all right.
Let's tack back there. But for now, let's give context to Squirrel Box because that is the topic of the day.
It is, but but we will trust me. We'll get to Squirrel Box, but how did we get to Squirrel Box, right? So
So I'm a media guy. I live in the New York area, Manhattan for the early part of my career, and then later into the suburbs. And after college, I moved straight to the city. I got a job in production. I got a job offer, moved up to the city, and then I've been here, ever since. So the first job was in a production setting. So I studied the theory of cinema, filmmaking production on 16 millimeter cameras and editing benches. But I was
You
working the production.
interrupt you real quick. Before you graduated from college, you had a feature film. I think it was 1991 that you released called Operation Rolling Thunder. Uh, Labor of Love, or did you actually use that as a school project?
That was like Squirrel Box, a passion project.
Okay.
I was a frat guy, a student, an athlete. So there was little time
In
for,
that order, I think it was in that order.
yeah, like,
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
those
Sure.
were all revolving planets to the sun of this fella's feature.
Got
So
it.
put it in perspective, Phil and I went cross country with some other friends for 9 weeks, and we had 5, 6, 7 hours of footage, and Phil edited it down to 20 minutes of a beautiful film. And
Thank you.
we will try to get that to the viewers. And Matt made an appearance
I'm in
towards
it.
the end
Yeah.
of the film, like a
Yeah.
special cameo.
Yeah.
The process of that was quite laborious, and I appreciate you bringing that to light. That back in the day, the amount of raw footage was quite extensive. So
Mhm.
screening it all, not once but multiple times, taking notes on where it was all, where were the in edits, out edits, etc. Then weaving contextually a story and a narrative, and then putting it all together. Took a long time. So I would go down to the art students lived or worked downhill. So all of the academic buildings for my major were downhill for a BA, the Bachelor's of Arts in Cinema that I got from Denison. And, late nights in between practices, classes, games, events, etc. I would work on this film. So yeah, it was fun to put it together and then see if you guys like it.
And for total honesty, once Phil puts it on YouTube, if you're watching this just because you're a fan of Matt's role in the movie is more like Burgess Meredith in Rocky Five. It's very brief. It's very brief, but it's impressive.
It's impressive to say the least.
So Phil, we got to go, but
Yeah.
This has been great.
We got to keep moving forward. But I do want to comment.
Christmas.
I just want to point out something that because one of the themes of our podcast is you were a 3-sport athlete in high school, captain of your lacrosse team in college, yet you were still going outside the box and paying attention to your creative side. And I remember you even as a young teenager, preteen, being interested in filming things, whether it was like blowing up your remote control car or whatever it was. So I just want to point out that you did not deny your creative side while you were being a student athlete.
No, he nursed it the whole time, always.
And that was a theme early on, and I was trying to like reverse engineer how did this kind of happen and how did this evolve in my identity. And I would go back to family albums, and I found one picture that had me with my then 2 brothers. James, my youngest brother, wasn't born yet. And my mother had made us all matching T-shirts. So the 3 of us are in these matching T-shirts, and we're in Disney World. and there's a picture of us staring up at the camera, and I'm doing this or I'm doing this. And when I would do that back when I was a kid, I would always look at a scene and I would frame it by a 16 by 9 aperture to figure out, like, if I were to be filming this or capturing this, what would this look like in a projected cinematic environment. So that kind of always is how I've looked at the world, framing things up, focal length, all that stuff kind of is how my brain works.
So you've always had the creative mind, the creative spirit, the way you looked at the world, the way you drink your bad dog coffee, the way you do it all.
Need the refill soon, by the way.
You obviously don't listen to the podcast. My God, it's 10:15. What are you doing? No.
I keep hearing about your career. I'm dying to hear about what led up to Squirrel Box.
So one job led to the next in New York City, where I was on the creative side. And I mentioned I'd sort of started in at the ground floor, which was great. Like, literally, when I'm answering phones for this job, of which I had a salary and benefits back in the day, I spent a couple years there. They gave me a shot to do some associate producing on projects. So they'd send me out with a camera crew and editors, and we'd put together content pieces. And then there was an opportunity where I could actually do the editing, which this was a very high-end editing shop where we had, tier 1 broadcast clients coming in. And I didn't like that life, because you would sit in a room for 8 or 10 hours a day in a dark room, and you'd have all of the editing equipment at your fingertips. This was when tape and tape decks and Grass Valley switchers and banks of monitors would sort of govern the editing room. And there would be conference tables in the back of clients basically barking at the back of your head, telling you to cut here, do this, do that. So it was exhaustive and soul sucking. So that kind of made me pay more attention to the business side of the entertainment business, the general managers and the exec producers that were kind of running the economics of the business and taking care of clients and bringing clients in and selling the company. And that quickly became my pathway.
To point out once again to all the people who listen who might be like, oh, the job market's not great. The job market's never great when you don't have experience. So Phil is just one more guy who started off stuffing envelopes and worked his way up to a career that he's proud of.
Totally. And I think it's worth saying, I came from Maryland to a state and a city I really didn't know anybody. My father was in medicine, and I really didn't pursue some of the things that I could have done that I think I could have had quicker success and maybe could have enjoyed. But I decided to sort of, live the dream, move to New York, try my hand at entertainment. And New York was the home of all the news bureaus, all of the major networks headquarters were here. So it was very television centric, which was then my real official sales job, where I was hired as a sales guy because I was saying, hey, I'm really good at taking care of the existing clients, making those that come in that are spending money spend more money. And then I could go out and hustle new clients and create an aura where they would want to come edit their work, produce their work at our company instead of 1,000 other companies. So that led to Tape House Digital, where I spent a couple formative years working under a great mentor. Every job, you need to make sure you're taking the job because of your direct report. At the end of the day, that really is what wins the day. That comes back and pays dividends over time, is the things you learn from that person. And they can come in many different forms. In this instance, this was a boss that was, twice my age, but we were in a very young business, and he and I were very supportive of each other. And he was really heartbroken that I, after a couple of years, said, hey, I'm moving on. I was offered this job at a competitor, and he was really not pleased with the competitor headhunting me out of theirs. So sales is all about book of clients and top line revenue, which I became very good at. And that's when I got hired away from the next competitor that I was stealing all the business from. and they hired me away and gave me an opportunity to manage a sales team. Whereas before, I became the West Coast rep for RGA. Spent a couple of years doing that. My first foray into traveling for a job, which was great. I would go out to LA, and there's a Charlie Sheen story at the end of this that we can circle back to make people listen to the whole podcast.
See how I did that, Matt?
No,
Matt, you see how I did that? He teased it, and now we're like, oh man, I'm in. So Peter Smith is like looking at his watch, being like, I got to keep listening to hear about Charlie Sheen.
Right, and you can't fast forward this.
Peter Smith doesn't know who Charlie Sheen is.
You guys got the tech. I'll figure it out. Listen, so that then led to
hey, Brett, is there a Reader's Digest of this? I mean, are we going to go day by day? I mean, my God, I feel like this last 20 minutes, it's been longer than I've known you.
When you're in entertainment and television, certainly advertising, this is the big theme, and this is important for your listeners to understand. If you've ever seen the show Mad Men, this is essentially what it's like to be in New York in advertising. And when an account is lost as an agency, literally that day, hundreds of people can lose their job. So there's no security in the entertainment business, and even today, a television executive's existence is difficult, let's say. So
can I interrupt though?
Please.
Because you just made Matt very nervous. Matt, your job is secure because there's no way I'll figure out how to edit on my own. So this is always going to be a dynamic duo. No, I when you said about the entertainment industry, I could tell Matt got a little bit red around his forehead. He got a little nervous.
Yeah. I'm really worried about somebody else is going to have to sit here and teach you how to turn on your computer. That's
what happened to the first part of the podcast. We talk about Squirrel Box.
Well, that's what I want to do. I want to hear. So we're going in this order because we got to understand who is telling us about Squirrel Box. We need to know who Phil McIntyre is. And
True.
Now
the professional stuff. Fast forward, I'm going to give you a 30-second of the past 10 years. So,
hey, dude, we've been on for 21 minutes. We recorded an 8-minute intro. You've got 90 seconds to plug.
You guys were supposed to do your homework. Right. So I then started my own agency and then ran my own business for 16 years. It was called the Brand Gallery, and the agency designed visual identity systems for television networks. So we would go in. If a network wasn't named and they were going to start a network, we would name it. We would bring all the trade dressings, logo, identity systems, promo pieces, and we would hand hundreds of those elements that we would design. We would do the strategic thinking behind the design. We would make the content, and then we would deliver those assets to the client. And so we did a lot of news and sports channels all over the world. We did the first 24-hour news channel for the continent of Africa. We did a soccer channel in Mexico. So I was the CEO of the business. I had a chief creative officer, Ian Greenway, and he ran all of the creative decisions around the projects. My job was to bring all of the projects in, close them, bid them, and then he would run the teams of designers, editors, animators that we had both in-house as employees, and we worked with freelancers. So at any given time, we might have 20 to 30 people working at the company. We had offices in the West Village for 5 years of its inception. And then we moved our headquarters to Greenwich, Connecticut, where I raised my family. And then the past 10 years after I closed the Brand Gallery, I consulted for a very well-known quant qual shop called Smith Geiger in Los Angeles. And I was their New York guy. And then in 2018, and I'm getting close to the end here, Matt. 2018, PASPA legalized online sports gambling, and that opened a torrent of business for DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, MGM to come in and put sports books in states. So today, 2025, there are 38 states with legalized online sports gambling. I then was an expert in bringing over European companies. So I worked for a Polish company based in Warsaw, brought them over to North America, did that for 3 years, and then was hired away to co-found and be president CEO of spreads.com, which is an AI-driven sports gambling platform for millennials. So where I sit today is I'm a media consultant, And what I've done with Squirrel Box is I've integrated my media brain, my entrepreneurial brain, because it never stops, with my passion for woodworking. I've always had, and as a surgeon, Ty, you'll appreciate this. My father was also an orthopedist, my late father, and he taught me the skill of doing workshop work. And, Matt, your brother Pete's quite similarly kind of wired this way. I love working with my hands and restoring antique furniture. So 25 years ago, I have four kids, my oldest twins are 24, but um, my younger kids, I re-entered that game of crafting things in my workshop with my kids. It first started with birdhouses that had cameras in it. That was quite novel 25 years ago. Today, you can go on Amazon and buy a bird feeder with a camera in it and AI recognition on stuff. But I did that 25 years ago, where we'd be out playing in the yard. We'd see birds fly into the birdhouse. We'd run inside and see them on the big screen in our living room, nesting, having babies. And it was great because it was the cycle of life. You saw them be born, you saw them die, you saw them being fed. It was your own, nature channel that you could broadcast yourself. So that was my love of woodworking, uh, media, but also I've always enjoyed nature and conservation and wildlife. So the birds weren't as well wired coming into these bird houses. So I had squirrels nest in them. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening here? So I had to clear them out. So there was a huge nest in my bird box that now is a squirrel box. And I started to clean it out, and I realized there was like 10 squirrel babies in there. So I had to relocate them. My youngest, Lauren, really loved kind of shadowing me in the workshop. So together we built our first squirrel box about a year ago, and we hung it up. We had it fully wired with an infrared HD camera, kind of a war room lab in the garage where we had a flat screen TV on the wall and a computer set up. And I remember to this day, in early January, because there was nothing in there for 30 days. So every day we were like, is someone going to take up residence? And when the first squirrel came in and we were down there and saw it happen, it was one of the most meaningful, special things, because it was just an amalgam of, the vision, the practicality of putting the time and effort in. There's a lot of work behind that, but it's real magic, and it's integrated with family and emotion. And
Can you give us a sneak peek? Like, what is your long-term goal of Squirrel
Well,
Box? So we
well,
can
hold
work,
on
work
one
back and
second,
understand it, but we
Tiger.
can visualize the Mount
Well,
Everest.
Tyler, let's see if I can. Let's just see here. I make no guarantees, but let's see if I can bring it up, and we can kind of talk about what you're trying to do, and see if we can watch this thing happen. For you viewing at home.
Oh, there it is.
There
Nice
it
job,
is.
Matt.
Thanks, buddy.
that
Wow.
is cool. Well done.
There we go.
So what are
So
you looking at?
I'm looking. This is these are two squirrels that are in a
Would
nest.
you like me to take this?
Yeah, please. I'm out now. Okay.
So
Remember, I'm
what
tired.
you're looking at is in theory, it's a live stream. So if we were to bring up the live stream, this is a recorded
Phil, what's he doing to her?
I don't think she. Well, look what she's
for
wearing.
viewers at home, is this an over 18 site?
Yes.
Whoa.
No, it's for everybody. It's for everybody.
So stepping back, this is something that is very innovative that's not being done. So, wildlife cameras are nothing new. What I've been able to do is take the thesis of what's called biometeorology, which is meteorology kind of integrated into zoology, integrated into psychology, which is this new white space that I'm pitching to weather media companies that I think is an interesting area for them to explore. What I've been able to do is take 20 or 15 odd pieces of weather APIs that are in the free and clear, and technically, with help of some colleagues and friends, um, stand up this proof of concept. So, this is my backyard. This is a box hung at least 15 feet in the air. Typically, squirrels nest between 20 and 50 feet up in the air for predatory reasons. Um, this is all that my ladder, and this squirrel box is rather heavy because it's cladded all in tree bark to create an integrated element within the tree environment to allow the squirrels to take to it. So um, this integrates time, sunrise, sunset, the season, a real live radar integration. As you can see, a ticker. So I can, in real time, be commenting on what I'm looking at in the ticker. And then on the right side, you have the location, the date, and then a myriad of temperature, weather direction, precipitation, 10-day forecast, air quality, barometric pressure. And the whole idea here is to bring viewers in a meditative way. And all the while, there's a very gentle musical accompaniment to this. So if anyone's familiar with the Calm app, this is the same kind of thesis, is that I want this to be a meditative refuge.
So you think people are going to watch this the whole time?
So for a weather company that typically is in the business of hiring meteorologists to tell you what the weather is yesterday, what the weather was yesterday, what the weather is today, and what the weather will be tomorrow, and they do it in a very old-fashioned kind of linear cycle in morning, afternoon, and evening linear broadcasts, and they have their accompanying websites and mobile assets to push weather data to you. This is a way to find an area where you might want, if you have appreciation for nature too. I'm trying to correlate what is the behavior, and I pick squirrels because we're a great protagonist in this theory to roll it out. And squirrels sleep 18 hours a day. They're out foraging. So typically 4 hours in the morning, they get up around sunrise, 4 hours at the end of the day. So at any given time, you may come back, and just like we're seeing here, it's going to be an empty box. But what's great about live television is that anything could happen at any given time.
Phil, is this an envision of, I'm like, oh, what's the weather? I check Squirrel Box as my go-to for the weather, and then I kind of take a 5-minute break to kind of meditate and watch the squirrels and kind of like have a little bit of a mindfulness moment? Or is this like going to be in the corner of my computer when I'm working, where it's just I can always take a break and look at squirrels?
Yes, 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 and yes. There's no clear directive here on its reason to be. I think what's nice about it is, like any sales pitch, you don't want to paint out every color, right? So you don't want to have it fully baked. You want to leave 5 or 10% to co-opt the selling audience into bringing their own ideas on what it is. What I've been able to do is platform an idea that doesn't exist, point it in the direction of not just weather companies, and I've pitched everyone, and we can go through the business of that, and wildlife organizations, because this at scale, this is a proof of concept. You could also use this on their websites as sticky content. And as you know, time on site for advertisers is how you monetize and create revenue. So there's an entertainment long tail to this that we can get into after that. But as far as what is this as a weather media product, no, someone's not going to this to say, do I need to wear an extra sweater? Do I take an umbrella? Do I cancel my outside birthday party this Saturday because what I'm seeing the squirrels do? The squirrels, as I've noticed, for example, the moon has a very proven effect on animals. And you can see as the lunar stages get closer to a full moon, they're behaving differently. They're foraging in different ways. And it's interesting just to see that. So there's going to be an element of the audience that are going to be journaling. They're going to get up every morning and going to see when the squirrels get up, when the squirrels go down, and those guys can geek out on that element. Then there's other people that might look at it from a different meditative standpoint. And you're right, you could put it on your desktop, picture in picture, and window it and keep it up there. But I think what this is a brand that I'm building, and there's a whole narrative ecosystem to this. So the design itself, you'll notice the word mark is derivative of a 1960s NASA space program brand motif. And my creative director, a good friend from London, Phil Dupay, who you should look up at Hello Love, is his company in London. I've worked with him for 20 years. He's a well-known BAFTA award-winning film director, and he's jumped in and helped me with a lot of the look and feel and the brand palette and the logos. And then from my gambling background, I've elicited the help of my former CEO, Alex Korniloff, who is a great coder and technician, and he lives in Malta. And he coded the entire back end of Squirrel Box. The website and the URL was stood up by Bethany, and she's a great website builder.
How does it work from a sales perspective where like you're not coming into a sales meeting saying this is a better widget? You're basically saying, hey, this is a totally new product. Like how do you get in the door? First of all, is it just your name and your previous history get you in the door? Because if you call one of these weather channels and say, hey, I got this idea called Squirrel Box, it's like, how do you get the meeting? Because even though it's a great idea and I'm already like, I know that this would be good for Brian Klepper to have up in the corner of his office computer to settle him down. I think it would be perfect for him. So I'm already going to buy it for him as a gift. He
has Bird Box, so yeah, why wouldn't he?
But how do you for me who doesn't do sales calls, how do you get in the door to pitch it?
So lesson for your audience that I know a lot of people that are listening, look to house calls about, career advice. How do you find your lane, and how do you, if you don't have the experience, how do you get to the experience, right? And it's amalgam of persistence without being annoying, having a work ethic, being focused. But how do you sell Squirrel Box? Well, it really, full stop, is having the relationships. So you have to know people in influential places. And I put this in front of them and I say, do you want this? Because I'm going to show it to your competitor. And I think this has merit on so many levels. You could bring in advertising revenue, sponsorship revenue. There is an entire entertainment ecosystem around this where we've engineered a promo campaign where Phil Dupay has created an entire launch spot around, you got it, National Squirrel Day, which is a natural pivot to, what is the rationale about pitching weather media companies during the middle of Christmas? Well, 30 days from now, no joke, there is a day dedicated to squirrel appreciation. Did I know about this a year ago? Of course I did. But what I learned was the state of North Carolina in 1971 made the gray squirrel their national mammal rodent of the state. So the gray squirrel in North Carolina is revered. And a wildlife rehabilitator person in North Carolina created this, and it's kind of lived through the years. And a lot of conservancies and nature centers use this to educate people about wildlife. And we're going to sort of tack around that to see if someone would want to partner, pilot around this, and build a brand. And
so Phil, I'm fascinated about the mindfulness part about it.
Yeah.
We've had Heron Dixon on twice, and just some of the discussions with him. This is like from such a different direction, but I can just imagine staring at squirrels instead of scrolling your phone, and basically your heart rate and your breath slowing down, taking that break in the day. I'm like, I just realized it just watching the video, talking to you guys. I think my blood pressure dropped 10 points just watching the squirrels. I imagine
can I use that in my marketing campaign?
I would, but in my mind, I also imagine myself having like squirrels in Seattle, squirrels in Tampa, squirrels in Vancouver, squirrels in Patagonia, squirrels in London, squirrels in Tokyo, and comparing how they're all acting. So instead of scrolling on my phone, stressing out about the world, I'm learning about
You're
squirrels.
stressing out about
So
squirrels.
there are I believe it's either 90 or I think it's 90 different species of squirrels globally, and there are 40 in North America. We're most familiar with the eastern gray squirrel, but we all know on the West Coast there's red squirrels and flying squirrels. At the end of the day, there are two different kinds of squirrels. It's really a tree squirrel, which is the one we're most familiar with, or a ground squirrel. The tree squirrels live in what's called a dray. So when you see these basketball sized bundles of leaves and trees, that's not a bird nest. Those are squirrels. So, and what's interesting about the squirrel's existence is that they're in a constant state of anxiety. You probably don't know this, but squirrels' lives are typically pegged on average to 18 months. A year and a half is the only life cycle of a squirrel, and they don't see two different seasons. They might not see two falls, two winters,
Wow.
two springs, two summer. So from
Are
a
you
meditative
trying to make us
mindfulness,
cry?
Yeah, I mean,
so from a mindfulness point of view, I thought, what a great symbolic, metaphorical protagonist to put there to say, listen, what you're looking at, you know, a female squirrel mates twice a season and has a litter of squirrels called kits, and they're typically 2 to 4, sometimes as high as 6 per litter, and it'll take them 3 months to mature to get out of the nest, and about 6 months old they can then reproduce. So they really only have a year left in their life on average. Now, startling statistic on why it's so prevalent that they don't live that long is that 50% or more of squirrels die in traffic accidents. They're run over by cars. How many miles do you think a squirrel strays from its where it beds down every night? How far do you think it goes on a daily foraging run?
half
A
Take a
mile.
guess.
A mile.
half a mile.
2 miles. So just think how long 2 miles in. Next time you're in your car driving, 2 miles is how far they do. Now, anything beyond 2 miles, they struggle to find their way back. But they're pretty much, their life is confined to a 5 to 25 acre footprint. And their predators are hawks, raccoons, domestic cats and dogs, foxes, bobcats. But if you've ever driven a car and tried to avoid a squirrel, you're almost getting in an accident because they're so nuts, right? And the reason why they zigzag the way they do is that their predators are normally coming from above. So they zigzag to avoid the hawks, but that's not so good against 55-mile-an-hour BMWs. So a squirrel typically maintains 3 drays to keep their predators guessing. So I might go and look at the squirrel box and see that they haven't been there for 2 nights. That just means they're keeping people guessing.
But Red, you have a passion for squirrels. This is basically Animal Kingdom. I want to leave a little bit of mystery so the listener doesn't learn everything about squirrels today, because I want them to engage with your product and learn more about squirrels. But one of the house calls themes, and you've dropped a few names, is one of our themes is teamwork. And you're not doing this alone. You're creating this team. How do you, in the creative world, create a team? Like, how do you find these people? What's your thought on hiring, resumes?
It's
How does
not
it work?
easy. Number one, it's not easy. In today's, listen, we all are living busy lives, and it's a very noisy world, which is why Squirrel Box exists. Like the world is overrun with bombardment from advertising, messaging, digital overload, AI overwhelm. Are there UAPs in our skies? We need a spiritual refuge. So, the mindfulness component to why this exists is absolutely what's going to ignite it and carry it forward. So, when I brought the concept of really legitimizing this as a media project and calling someone to say, hey, this is not funded. So, i.e., you're going to do this for free, right? Like in your free time. So you have to have strong, trusting relationships that would take that phone call and listen and not only do the work. And there's a tremendous amount of hours put into some of this stuff. So
Obviously.
they
Yep.
do it, I think, out of, first of all, love and appreciation for our relationship, because we've known these relationships are years in the making. And a lot of my business relationships are just that, forged early on and just reinvested, constantly cultured. And I think that's one thing I've done well with my network is I constantly till it and feed it. And because there's no guarantees in life and nothing's forever, so you really have to kind of live in the moment. And I brought this project to the team I mentioned. They immediately said, "We love it." On the surface of the idea, I mean, who wouldn't want to be involved in this project? It's so fun and cool. But we've had a lot of joy doing it. But here's the second level. I've been pitching this for 2 weeks to media companies. And when I pitch it, garnered mouth opening, awe, smiles. They love it. It's tough to not like something like this. So it's all about risk taking. Nothing is a slam dunk. There's a business plan that is rationalized around this, that is real, that is no joke. There's a real business here that generates real revenue, that can add value to these companies, that I think I've made compelling pitches for. So stay tuned, House Calls, the podcast audience, on monitoring the success of squirrelbox.com.
Now, Phil, do you ever mentor young creative people? Like, has there ever been somebody that you're like raw, who's like that person, that guy or girl is creative, and I'm going to mentor them and take them under my wings and give them a chance to grow?
So I had a long-standing internship program at my company that ran almost 15 years. I took 4 Denison students every spring. I would get 30 resumes, pick 4 of the baby birds, brightest, bring them in. They'd spend 10 weeks at my company. I'd put them in either PGM Artists, which was my repping company, Standard Directors, my live action company, or the Brand Gallery, my agency. And they would basically get a boot camp learning of everything they need to know in advertising. And I'd say, listen, forget about the traditional route and going. I'm going to give you the cheat sheet. This is your internal insight into, ignore all this bullshit. This is what you focus on. If you work hard and you're passionate, someone will recognize that, and that momentum will carry you forward in your career and in your life. So I had a certain gift for finding good people and working with great partners.
Here's the deal with you, Phil, and in all seriousness, you've mixed all of your passions together. Everything you've done up until the past 50 plus years to this point, and it's really cool to see, because as Ty said at the beginning, it's your business, it's your creative, but it started from a passion project with you and your family. So it's just really cool to see all these things come together, like Squirrel Box, and to see you be able to take it to the next level is awesome. And I think it's a great concept, and I think it's you've got something here, as you know. And when it comes out of such a organic, real spot, the way this has, it can't go wrong. So good for you.
I got to share one more thing. So the genesis, thank you, Matt. The genesis of this was, and we all need to kind of understand our childhoods definitely are fertile ground for us to revisit and think about when things happen, why things happen, and how, and try to attach a metaphorical or symbolic meaning to it. And that was this. This was a book.
I love that book.
This was a book that my mother, Nancy McIntyre, first shared with my brothers and I. It's by P.D. Eastman, The Best Nest. And the concept of it was, there's no place like home. And I don't want to spoil the book, but everyone should go out and read it. But that kind of took a hold of me at an early age, where I think creating a nurturing environment in your home is critical. And everything outside of the home, how you think, how you view the world, how the world views you, and how you embrace anything, your academic life, your social life, your business career, etc., unless you're taking care of your home, right, the foundation, um, you have less of a shot to make everything else work and fit and balance. So the best nest was my inspiration, and I've gifted the book to many people. It's similar to other influences that we all have, great authors, great songs that just hit the right mark. And
Yeah.
so the tree where these squirrel boxes sit are, I looked at the circumference of this oak tree, and it's projected to be 80 to 100 years old. And if you know anything about, mindfulness and meditative state, and try to understand the powers of animals and being connected, and how the root system of a tree like that extends, and how people take their shoes off and walk the ground and get terra firma and connect with the world, it tacks back to a lot of the conceptualization I had around why would anyone care about biometeorology? Well, when a tsunami hits, what do you think scampering up to higher ground 2 hours before all the humans know that wave is about to crush everyone to death? The birds, the lizards, everyone is going to higher ground to protect themselves. And there's something that animals are attuned to, and we know this, that and the squirrel's eyesight and hearing is very infinitely better than ours, just like a dog's smell is 40 times that of a human. There are things in nature and life that we just are right in front of us that we don't recognize, but if you put them together and you look at them together, the enlightenment that you can have is tremendous. So
Absolutely.
So, Phil, there is a
good.
little bit of an idea of the tsunami, the animals scampering to higher ground, is that humans have turned that off. But just like they turned it off, they could theoretically turn it back on. And I just literally had a conversation yesterday with a deer hunter who noticed that every time he falls asleep in the blind, he wakes up and there's deer everywhere. And it's because he feels like he's giving a sense of peace, saying, "There's no danger to you, little doe."
I
There you
think
go. I like it.
there is an esoteric or meta kind of way at looking at this, which when people see Squirrel Box, they either get it or they don't. And it's like there's no point in evangelizing somebody and trying to tell
Right.
them about it, because if they don't get it, the ability to actually tell them how to get it will further disenfranchise their ability to understand it.
So as we get to our conclusion, does Charlie Sheen get it? Like you promised. I mean, Pete Smith's been listening this whole time. Like, who's Charlie Sheen?
Listen,
did Red play lacrosse with Charlie Sheen?
I'm going to keep this as PG as possible. So when I was traveling with R. Greenberg Associates, RGA, I would often go to Los Angeles, and we had and then I would have an LA office there, but I would stay at Shutters in Santa Monica, which back in the day was the IT Hotel, brand new, right on the beach, great bar and restaurant, and it would attract, the elite of Hollywood at any given hour, not just at like dinner time or cocktailing on the weekends, like at any given time. So I'm checking into my room and waiting for the elevator. It was only like a 2 or 3 story bungalow style facing the beach suite. And I decided to take the stairs. And he literally almost ran me over. He was bounding down the stairs in a blue blazer. I think I might have had my blue blazer on. And he said, "Hey, what's up, man?"
Wow. That's a story. Can I use that?
I don't know what you do with that, but yeah, go use the shit.
And did you say nothing, Mr. Wild Thing?
I mean,
hey, are you lost, boy?
I kind of recognized.
Hey, you're a Top Gun.
Him, but it really didn't.
Or what was Hot Shots? You're a hot shot.
I mean, this was well in advance.
Can I be in your platoon?
What are you looking for, Wall Street?
There was definitely some cheerleaders up in some room.
Okay. Red, this was great. So I have an idea. I think we should make you a regular, maybe bi-monthly, maybe quarterly, and you give us updates on Squirrel Box.
Yeah.
You pop in briefly for 5 minutes up an episode.
Listen, I would welcome that on any topic, but I would also welcome a a rechecking in of Squirrel Box where we can actually tack back to this episode. We can see some of the outlandish statements and predictions that I've made about the success of Squirrel Box and try to see, if they stack up.
What's the website address?
sqrlbx.com.
Got it.
Where's it going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, and then we sign off?
So the entertainment component of this is really where it kind of culturally gets sticky. I think if a weather media company and a conservation group that I need to partner on this doesn't see the merit, then we're sort of dead in the water. But once we have those two partners, I think I then have an ability to bring in some of advertising and entertainment's elite to come in and create incredible narratives. So one of which is a sitcom a la Alf, and another is a Broadway show here. First of all, I want to open up a driving school, a Squirrel Box driving school here in town for kids. And also, I'm thinking about.
I can't wait for your first Super Bowl commercial. Your first Super Bowl commercial is going to be.
So, Red, we learned something from every single guest. So, as we sign off from episode number 54, Tom Ripley, it's okay to tell people you work with you love them. Red, we love you.
Yeah, I love you too, guys. And Merry Christmas.
Pal. Good work.
Happy Hanukkah to your listening audience, and Happy New Year. Love you.